Welcome to a story built on heat, tension, and that kind of pull you can't walk away from. Turn up the volume, lean back, and let yourself fall into the moment. Let every emotion hit exactly where it should. Don't forget to subscribe. New audiobooks every week. Want to win a free bundle of 3 audiobooks? Just comment Dark Mafia Romance below for your chance to win. There's no limit. Comment as many times as you want. 5 random winners will be chosen.
Ashley. He walked into my life like a sin in a tailored suit, cold, impossible, untouchable. Leon Clark, the billionaire everyone fears, and the boy I once loved in secret. I shouldn't have recognized him. He shouldn't have remembered me. But fate has a cruel sense of humor, because now I'm working in his world, drowning in his attention, pretending I don't feel the pull that ruined us both 2 years ago. He wants the truth. I want to run. But the way he looks at me, I know exactly how fast I'll fall. And this time, I might not survive him.
Leon. Ashley. My ghost. My razor blade miracle. I built an empire so no one could hurt me again, so no one could lie to me the way she did. I told myself I didn't care, that the girl behind the screen was dead to me. Until she walked into my office wearing heartbreak like perfume. Now I can't stay away. I shouldn't touch her, but I do. I shouldn't want her, but I burn for her. I'm the man with everything to lose. She's the woman who already broke me. And yet, I will have her again. Even if I have to tear the world apart to do it. This is the first book in the Billionaire Obsession Duet. Reading order: Tempt the billionaire, ruin the billionaire.
Prologue. I've always believed that life changes in whispers, not explosions. People assume heartbreak arrives like thunder, loud, violent, impossible to ignore. But for me, everything that ever altered the course of my life came softly. A memory. A name. A glance. A feeling I couldn't control. And every whisper eventually grows teeth. Maybe that's why I'm standing here now, with my palms pressed to the bathroom sink in the club where I work, staring at the girl in the mirror like she's both a stranger and a warning. The noise outside is a constant thrum, bass vibrating through walls, crystal glasses clicking, laughter echoing in the kind of way that only happens in places where the wealthy pretend they're alive. Everyone outside this room knows exactly who they are. I'm the only one who doesn't. I inhale through my nose, exhale through my mouth, and will my heartbeat to slow. I tell myself it's just another shift. That the nerves humming in my bones are nothing more than exhaustion and too much coffee. But that isn't the truth. I can lie to anyone else. Lying to myself is pointless. I feel something coming. It's ridiculous, but the feeling is as real as the tile beneath my feet. A pull. A shift. A quiet wind moving my hair even though this room is still. Something is about to change. And it terrifies me. The truth, the one I never say out loud, is that I'm tired of running from things I can't name. Tired of taking life in small, careful pieces, and convincing myself that the safest option is the only one I deserve. Tired of believing that love is a luxury built for other people. But tonight, this city feels different. The lights seem brighter. The air feels thicker. And the club, a glittering world I've learned to navigate like a tightrope, holds a buzzing tension I can't quite explain. When I step out of the bathroom, the sound washes over me like a wave. Conversations blend with music, woman's perfume mixing with expensive cologne. Waiters move quickly, fluidly. There's a kind of orchestrated chaos to these nights, the kind that only money can choreograph. On good days, I can forget I'm on the outside looking in. But tonight isn't a good day. My heart is restless. My mind won't quiet. My skin prickles like it knows something I don't. Across the room, I see him. Not him. Not the man who will change everything. Not yet. But the memory of a ghost flickers through me, soft and sharp at the same time. 2 years ago, I loved someone I never should have loved. Someone I never even saw in person. Someone who knew me in ways people who hugged me didn't. Someone whose voice never reached my ears but wrapped around my heart anyway. Someone who made me believe, briefly, beautifully, that maybe broken things could still be wanted. We never met. And yet he is the reason I flinch when I feel myself care. The reason I swallow my feelings whole. The reason I steel myself before anyone gets close. The reason I have mastered the fine art of not wanting too much. He is also the reason my stomach twists tonight. Because the feeling returning to me is familiar. That quiet pull. That whisper of danger and hope braided together. That sense that somewhere in the room, someone is about to change my life again without even trying. I breathe in, hold it, let it go. And I do what I always do, I work. I weave through tables with practiced ease, setting down drinks with a smile I've perfected in the mirror. The regulars are already half drunk on luxury, they won't notice the slight shake in my hands. I check on the VIP rooms, take an order, deliver another, congratulate someone on a promotion, nod politely at jokes that aren't funny. This is what my life has become, routine, predictable, controlled. A world I can manage. A world where nothing surprises me. So why does my pulse feel like a warning? I stop near the balcony railing for a moment, letting the cool air wash over my overheated skin. If I close my eyes, I can pretend the city below exists for me too. That the skyscrapers aren't made of glass that will cut me. That the lights aren't burning too bright for someone like me. Ashley. I turn. It's just a coworker calling me. Nothing life-changing. Nothing dangerous. Nothing like the whisper in my chest insists. And still I feel it, like the universe leaning closer to breathe against my neck. The hair on my arms rises. Something is about to happen. Or someone is about to arrive. Someone whose presence will drag up things I've spent years burying. A shadow passes across the club floor, tall and cut with purpose. I can't see the man's face from here, he stands just beyond the glow of the chandelier, but the energy shifts the second he enters. People always say powerful men carry a presence, but this is something else. Something darker. Something controlled. Something that feels like gravity itself has turned toward one person. He's surrounded by people who move the world with their money, yet somehow he stands apart. Not above them, not below, simply apart. Like he doesn't need the approval the others chase. Like he watches everything, but reveals nothing. I shouldn't be able to feel this from across the room. I shouldn't care. I shouldn't notice. But I do. Because the moment he steps forward, the whispers inside me begin to roar. The music thumps. The lights dim. The crowd sways. And still all I feel is him. Like the night inhaled and forgot to exhale. I force my gaze away and return to my tray, grounding myself in movement. Work. Routine. The life I've built brick by brick to keep myself safe. I cannot afford distractions. Not from mysterious men, not from memories of someone I once loved, not from the ache that still sometimes crawls up my spine when I'm alone with my thoughts. But the awareness stays. It lingers at the back of my neck as I deliver another drink. It coils low in my stomach as I take a customer's card. It sparks in my fingertips when I accidentally brush against something that isn't even there. I know that feeling. I've lived with it. Run from it. Feared it. That pull. The kind you don't choose. The kind you don't want. The kind that chooses you. And it terrifies me more than anything else ever has. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that attraction is dangerous. It makes you weaker. Blinder. Softer. And softness is something I can't afford. I learned the hard way that the world doesn't catch gentle people when they fall. The world watches and calculates. Sometimes it even pushes. If you're lucky, you survive. If you aren't, you learn to rebuild yourself with pieces that don't quite fit anymore. So why does it feel like something inside me is waking up after years of sleeping? Why does tonight feel like the echo of a chapter I've closed? Why do I feel seen, even though no one is looking? I swallow hard and step away from the railing. The man on the balcony disappears into a private room, and the moment the door shuts behind him, the pressure in my chest loosens just enough for me to breathe. Just enough for me to pretend nothing happened. Just enough for me to tell myself that I imagined all of it. Because nothing in my world is ever that dramatic. I am not the kind of girl fate searches for. I am not the kind of girl destiny rearranges its path for. I am not the kind of girl who catches the gaze of men who walk like they own every building they step into. I am normal. Quiet. Safe. Forgettable. But my reflection from earlier haunts me as I move back onto the floor. Eyes too wide, heartbeat too loud, something blooming behind my ribs that feels like hunger and fear wrapped together. That girl in the mirror. She looked like she was waiting for something. Or someone. Someone familiar and dangerous all at once. Someone whose shadow still touches my life. Someone I've spent 2 years trying to erase. Someone whose name I don't let myself say out loud anymore. Maybe tonight is nothing. Maybe the whisper inside me is wrong. Maybe the universe is playing tricks again. I hope so. God, I hope so. Because I've survived a lot. I've rebuilt myself in silence. I've stitched my heart together with realism and routine. I do not have the strength to fall again. Not for another man with cold eyes and a colder past. Not for another ghost from the dark. Not for someone who could tear down every wall I've built. But as I pass the private room again, the door opens for a split second. Just enough for music and light to spill into the hallway. Just enough for a shape, broad shoulders, sharp jawline, eyes like winter storms, to emerge in the space between seconds. And just enough for something inside me to whisper, quietly and fatally, "You know him." I blink. The door closes fully. The hallway returns to normal. But nothing inside me is normal anymore. My hands tremble as I tighten my grip on the tray. My heart pounds against my ribs like it's trying to escape. And suddenly I'm back in a moment I've never fully escaped. Typing messages, holding my breath, believing in someone I had no right to believe in. Someone I should have forgotten. Someone I never really did. I take one step back. Then, another. I cannot do this. Not again. Not with anyone. But the echo of that presence lingers on my skin like a fingerprint, and the whisper inside me returns, older, heavier, certain. Everything is about to change. And no matter how hard I try, I am not ready. I don't think I ever will be. Chapter 1. Ashley's Pav. I breathed heavily as I carried in the heavy cardboard box with my clothes and belongings. I stumbled through the hall and put it desperately on the edge of the bed in my room. Ashley. A weak feminine voice called out from the room next to mine. Coming, Aunt Marie. A second, please? I said as I shifted the box farther from the edge, in fear that it will drop down. I walked out as I unlocked my black waist-length hair from a bun and ran my fingers through it. They had gotten frustratingly tangled. Again. I reached the room where Aunt Marie was laying down and knocked softly. Come in, dear. Her weak voice said. Aunt Marie is a prey to a terrible heart disease. I had a special spot for her in my heart, and since she wasn't able to take care of herself, I offered to move in with her. Again. Not that it's a problem. She had raised me since I was 3 like her own child, especially since she didn't have any of her own. My parents had died in a fire while I was at my play school. My aunt offered to take me in. I actually don't even remember having parents. It was always Aunt Marie. My mother, father. Everything. She was my backbone and moral support. Last month, her best friend told me of her condition and how desperately she needed help. I immediately resigned my job as a waitress and came over here. Well, not immediately. It took a long time to convince Aunt Marie of letting me leave my life and come to her. As I entered the room, I noticed the pile of medical equipment and let out a grievous sigh. Ashley, Aunt Marie said, you did so much for me and even left your job. I thought I could help you by finding something. It really? No, listen. It's the same thing. It's for a big company and they'd pay you well. I just want you to see it once. Just that. Tomorrow they have the interview. Go please. I breathed heavily and finally sighed, giving in. All right, Aunt Marie, only because you say so. I kissed her lightly on the forehead and mumbled a good night.
Leon Pov. I buttoned my white shirt as the girl lay on my bed. She stretched and looked at me after opening her eyes in confusion. You going somewhere, honey? She asked. I groaned in frustration and leaned on the bed over her till I was inches from her beautiful face. You don't call me honey, sweetie. Get it? I could tell by the look on her face that she was intimidated. She nodded. Good. Wear some clothes and not a word outside. That is how me and my partners have always been. It's safer this way, nobody gets hurt. Especially me. Even if it came at low costs. Normally, I didn't give women much romantic attention, and when I find them really hot, they ended up in bed with me. Almost always. Nora. This time. She's a supermodel I met tonight at a charity event. It was a matter of time. We were hungry, and I lived nearby. It did not matter, anyways, since it was a one-night stand, and there was no meeting her again. There never were second meetings. Not if I had to get my heart broken again.
Chapter 2. Ashley's Pov. I got up in the morning, feeling stiff all over. I had overdone my house chores last night. Aunt Marie couldn't get out of her bed, and because I came in last night, the apartment had become extra dirty. I had to work almost till midnight to get the house clean. I looked at the address in my hand and sighed. Aunt Marie had given it to me last night, and I was still thinking whether my decision was correct or not. Before I could change my mind, I placed a call and fixed an interview. I had to get ready in an hour to reach my destination. I bathed, letting the warm water flow off my body, and dressed in my most unlike waitress yet professional clothes ever. A skin-tight jeans with an overcoat till mid-thighs. The coat was green with little prints but not very casual. Or not very unprofessional. I yelled bye to Aunt Marie and got into her convertible following the directions to the address she had given me. 30 minutes later, I was standing in front of a huge building that looked nothing like a restaurant. It was UGE with glass fittings that show, "Are that clothes?" I got in and realized that it was a bloody showroom. There were racks of clothes all over the place, a few hanging from hangers. They were all in grays and blacks or whites, just that palette. The work inside was masculine and impossibly beautiful, despite the overload of dull colors. The Seasher area was empty, except for a very handsome man possibly in his 20s. "Excuse me?" I called out. "Uh-huh," he said, turning around. He looked me in the eye for a moment, and I suddenly felt very nervous. "Yes?" I took a deep breath, and everything rolled off my tongue. I had an appointment for an interview today. He opened his mouth in a mute "ah." I couldn't help but notice how extremely handsome he is. He had a deep, mesmerizing voice which hypnotized me. Almost. He had dark hairs which looked silky, and my fingers itched to ruffle them. His perfect nose, pink lips, and dark brown eyes could make any girl go crazy. And unlike most good-looking men, he didn't seem rude or proud. In fact, he hardly knew that he was good-looking. I smiled. "Are you ready?" he asked, eyeing me curiously. "I need to know the work first." "Oh. You will be working as a Seasher," he stated. "Seasher? How are Seasher and waitress the same thing?" Oh no. I can't believe it. She lied to me. How can an ill person on bed and in the most terminal state of life play pranks? See, Asher? I managed to say. I am sorry, but I am applying as a waitress. Yeah, your grandmother told me you'd come with a misunderstanding. Well, she said that you should apply for this job because I'd pay you well. And well, since my mother knows your grandma. She's my father's sister. Oh, since your aunt knows Mom, I agreed. And well, I am happy about my decision right now because you are. You seem nice. I could feel myself blushing, and I tried not to smile, but a piece of it escapes. Shall we start? He asked in a gentlemanly manner, and I nodded in response.
Leon Pov. Next week is the party, sir. June said, looking at the clipboard, pouting. I liked that about her. She didn't seem interested in me, as much as she was engrossed in her work. And it was because she is 20 years older than me. That also means that even if she was sexually attracted to me, she wouldn't show it. Not much of a party, I murmured. But you need to be present, sir. Everyone will be. I know, I snapped. She visibly swallowed and said, there's a dress code too. A dress code? What are we, a bunch of 7-year-olds? I asked, frustrated. It's checked suit for men and a gown for women. I paused and breathed deeply. Tomorrow is a Sunday. Is there any time free for me to go and buy the damn coat? I asked tightly. I can. I don't want to look like a joker. Her mouth set into a tight line. I knew she felt insulted, and that made me satisfied. Rude as it might sound, she didn't know how to handle such things. I'll tell you, she said, breaking the long run of silence until we reached my meeting.
Chapter 3. Ashley's Pov. I got the job. He asked me about my family, background, and honestly less about anything related to work-like experience or something, which I had none of. I, however, learned that his name was Grayson. He was single, and I can only guess why he told me that. He told me that I'd have to come to work earlier, and honestly, Asher can't be worse than a waitress. An hour early would be fine, like he suggested. A quick instruction to the protocols and procedures, and I was ready to start. I also hoped that in the free time I got, I would be able to finish up my novel or think about it at least. Next morning was a blur. The first thing I was conscious of was splashing cold water on my face. I shook my head and remembered that I had to go to work and reach there by 8. Which was something that would be difficult to do since it was already 7, and the showroom was at least a half-hour commute. 50 minutes later, I found myself standing in front of my car with jeans and a gray-green cardigan with shoes and my hairs in a simple ponytail. No makeup. I like using makeup only on rare occasions. For example, my wedding, my friend's wedding, some night outs. Did I mention weddings? Yeah, I am obsessed with weddings. I parked in a curb near the showroom and got out of my car. I grabbed my purse and walked over, and saw Grayson waiting there. I couldn't help but feel the hope inside me that stirred that he might have been waiting for me. As I got within his hearing range, he called out, smiling. I waved at him in response. So ready? He asked, smirking only so slightly as to confuse it with smile. Big day, big day. I chanted, and he chuckled, big day indeed. An hour later, I was sitting at the cash counter waiting for the first customer to step in through the glass doors. Having been introduced to Karina, Gail, and Emily, I was confident that I would be able to make at least one friend. Karina was simply rude and blatant. She seemed to be jealous of me, for some reason. And I could only think, oh come on. It's not like I have become the Queen of England. If you wanted the job so bad, why didn't you simply pull down your pants for Grayson? And by the looks she gave Grayson, she would be willing to do just that. Emily had gorgeous blonde hair, and was so humble and cheerful, but not in the superficial, annoying way. Gail was sweet and friendly, and treated me like a sister, earning my respect to be the only person I had ever met doing so. Later, I learned that he had his childhood sweetheart for whom he was head over heels. I loved that kind of love. I was thinking about checking out my mahogany table when a limo parked up in front of the showroom. It was exactly 9. He shut the car door behind him and headed inside, pushing open the door with a hand and walking towards me. He was extremely handsome. I could feel my stupid heart flutter in my chest. He had an authoritative posture, and I tried to look confident, trying to show at least that I would not shrink under him. His blonde hair was wind-rustled and looked perfect on his handsome features. His blue eyes bore into my mind, and his blonde hair complemented his tan skin so well. And his physique. Oh dear God. I mean, I could literally see his fine body through the piece of suit he was wearing. His nose was perfect and his lips was basically perfect. But that didn't mean that I felt anything at all. He's handsome. That's where it ends.
Leon Pav. As I walked towards the reception area, I couldn't help but notice that the Seasher had changed. She was tall, with brown-black hair till at least to her navel, which were tied back. She had chocolate-brown eyes which checked me out a bit, but not with lust or hope, but curiosity. Her face was perfect. Her nose is a little thicker than usual, but suited her face perfectly, while her lips were plump and pink. And well, kissable. Her body was athletic and perfect. All the curves in the right places. I can see that from even here. I instantly knew I wanted her in bed. The fact that she didn't want me the way every girl wanted was bothersome. And I could see it in her eyes that she didn't. I mean, she didn't even look at me like that. I want her, but it seems she didn't. That is new. But that's why I want her more. Sounds stupid, but hey, I am a man. Who am I kidding? I was very ready to touch her in all the right places. And her body was just the right type for me. This is going to be interesting. Chapter 4. Leon Pav. She was very hot. Even though she was covered from top to bottom, it was clear. In fact, it was surprising that she didn't know it. I reached the counter and placed my hand near hers, just close enough that our fingertips touched. But she withdrew her hand and looked up at me, taking a silent deep breath and smiling forcefully. Ironic thing was that where girls would have been jumping by my touch and making all kinds of moves, she broke contact. I tried to compose myself. I would rather show my amusement to her.
Ashley's Pav. I didn't like this man very much. It was clear the way he looked at me that he just wanted to get inside my pants. That's what people like him, rich and handsome, do. When he touched the tiny part of his skin to me, tingles shot through my body. But that doesn't mean that I liked it. I mean, he has no right to make me feel like that. Right? 3. There was something in his eyes that flashed before he took control of it and looked at me in amusement. I took a deep breath and smiled at him, winning over my nervousness. My first customer today, and he had to be such a jerk. What would you like, sir? I asked. Honestly, it was awkward that he came straight to me without anything to pay for. He raises his eyebrow at me and says, "A checkered suit." His deep, soft voice stated. It was mesmerizing and enchanting. I loved it. But even so, I am confused why I start but was interrupted by Karina, who happened to unintentionally and stupidly stumble into the man. He held her up and got away as soon as politely humanly possible. He looked like he'd rather become a mannequin than hold her. I tried to control the smirk that wanted to make its way to my face. I am sorry, oh my. I am so sorry, Mr. Clark. What would you like? She whined in her itchy and bitchy voice. I looked at her with a disgusted expression. A checkered double suit? He said. Yes, sir. Please follow me, she purred. Mr. Clark looked at me one more time and walked towards where Karina was waiting. Ignoring the tingles on my neck, I started piling the papers. About 20 minutes later, he came back with a dark blue-colored suit with silver lines that intersected each other to form little checks. Simple and beautiful. You can't blame me for thinking how devilishly handsome he would look in that. I started billing him and told him the exact amount, $750. He looks at me like I just said the stupidest thing in history. You expect me to pay? Yes, I said uncertainly, and it ended up more like a question. Do you know who I am? Your boss, he started, but it was interrupted by Grayson, who came to my rescue. I breathed a sigh of relief. Leon? He called out. Leon. Leon Clark. A sexy name for a say stranger. I wasn't going to accept that he is attractive. How are you? It's been such a long time. He asked Mr. Clark. This is going to be interesting. Chapter 5. Ashley's Pav. Sir? I asked Grayson, who had told me specifically not to call him sir, but it is a customer right here. Both of them turned towards me. Oh? Yes. Leon, this is Ashley Anderson right here. She is actually our new Seasher and doesn't really know, so I am really sorry. He now talks to me. You are not supposed to cash him, Ash. He just needs it to be packed. Do not forget that. Ever. He won't like it. I smiled genuinely to him and turned to Mr. Clark, who was clenching his jaw and looking at Grayson with a hard expression. Well, it wasn't that big a mistake. Moreover, it was mine, not Grayson's. I am sorry, sir. I apologized. I'll just do it. He nodded. And I could feel his intent gaze on me, checking me out. Every part of my body.
Leon Pav. Every part of her body. She is gorgeous. Tan skin and perfect body. While she packs my suit, the way she stands with elegance and confidence, I just want to push her against the wall and kiss her till we are both breathless. The fact that she is not all over me made her even more interesting and desirable. No one ever did that. She is a challenge, a goal I need to achieve, and I will. It is, after all, a matter of my ego. When I sat back in my car, I turned to my PA and said, I want to know everything about this Ashley Anderson.
Chapter 6. Ashley's Pav. Friday. My favorite day of the week. It's been 4 days since I'd been working as a Seasher here. The job has been going well, and I hadn't seen his face again. I was relieved but not happy. And the fact that this makes me unhappy made me more sad. I just don't want to end up hating myself. My shift for today was over. As I was packing my things up, Grayson came to me, taking surprisingly long strides. Hey, Ash. He said casually, but I could see the nervousness that surrounded him. I smiled politely at him. I am thinking that if, you are free tomorrow, without any plans, then I can, well. I raised an eyebrow at him. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes and blurted out, Tomorrow is a party and I would love it if you come as my date. He paused, please. I smiled broadly. Did he really ask me on a date? I obviously liked him the first time we met, and I felt something. But I never thought anything would happen. Grayson. Calm down. Of course I'd love to. He widened his eyes in surprise and then narrowed them in confusion. You will? 1. If you want me to. He grinned. Suddenly, he came forward and hugged me. Thank you. He whispered against my ears and I shivered. Why does he make me feel like this? I nodded slightly and he let me go. Tomorrow at 7. I'll pick you. And grinning like he just won the Nobel Prize, he went back to his office. It's 6:50 and I had been brushing my hair. I had straightened my naturally wavy hair already. Straighter, they looked longer than ever. At almost 7:01, I heard a knock on the door and expecting Grayson, I opened it. There he stood and his mouth hung open once he saw me. He composed himself and gave me his hand. Of course he should feel like this. I mean, I got ready so nicely just for him. When I took his hand, sparks shoot through my body. Judging his reaction, he felt exactly the same and his eyes got darker and cloudy. "Jas," I was about to say when he suddenly pulled me towards him, staring at my lips. His look so soft, so warm, I was so ready to. One. I could feel his breath on mine, and I looked him in the eyes, and maybe that was all the permission he needed. He crashed his lips on mine. He kissed me with such passion and force that I moaned. He smiled and pressed my hips with one hand while the other remained under my chin. When I was about to pull him more, a sudden thought came to me. Instead of pulling him towards me, I set my hands on his chest and pushed him away. He frowned and looked at me in a questioning way. "Party," I said, a little breathlessly. He smiled wickedly and said, "We can continue, right?" I blush and nod, not trusting my mouth to speak correctly. He offered me his hand again, but we made it to his car without kissing. "So where is this party? Remember Leon?" I nodded. I mean, how couldn't I? He made me feel like no other man had. He made me nervous and furious at the same time. And some other emotion I am not able to quite put together. Well, it's his company's party to celebrate their success for their recent developments. He didn't say any further, and I really didn't want to see him in business mode, so I didn't prompt him. But honestly, I was shocked out of my mind. I had thought that there will be no meeting between us again, and then this happened.
Leon Pov. I was talking with some of my colleagues and other fundraisers when the sound of many glasses breaking together filled the air. All the people in the hall, who came for the party for the source of commotion. Some idiot waiter stumbled into. There she stood, in a turquoise mermaid gown which had a deep back and white heels. Her hairs were open, and she looked like an angel. I had to resist my growing wish to touch her back, kiss her and take her there and then. What is happening to me? There has not been a single girl who I wanted so much. What fueled my temptation was that Grayson stood there with her, hands on her waist, lightly touching her back while she blushed furiously. How dare he? I didn't know why I was so angry. She doesn't even belong to me yet. All I wanted right now was to beat him to a pulp for even eyeing her. 2. Maybe just one night with her would be enough. 2. I was standing, a group of colleagues all congratulating me. From the corner of my eye, I spotted Ashley and Grayson making their way to us. I shifted on my feet slightly. Finally. When they reached us, Grayson offered me a manly hug which I took rigidly. Grayson gestured her to offer her hug too. She came forward and gave me a friendly hug. And of course, she was extremely careful not to touch me. But my stomach clenches somewhere deep inside. I could see her biting her lip and acting nervously. Was that an indication that she wanted me too? Of course. I want her, I'll have her.
Chapter 7. Ashley's Pov. The hug made me feel so damn uneasy. Maybe because he was just so attractive. Perhaps every girl felt like this with him. Just breathing near him and taking in his scent made my skin heated. With controlled movements, I tried to not touch him. He didn't push it. Unfortunately for me, that was the only exciting part of this day. I was totally, utterly, and completely bored because 1. I did not fucking care if the company just lost a major deal, or the shares were facing a major mood swings. 2. Though it makes me feel embarrassed to admit it, I had no freaking idea what in the world they were talking about. My only benefit was that Leon was nowhere nearby. "Grayson, I will be back in a minute," I told him, grabbing his arm. He just nodded and smiled. I stopped and asked a waiter for directions and set out again. When I reached the ladies' restroom, I plugged in my earphones and started listening to 1,000 Years, and was halfway through The Heart Wants What It Wants when someone entered. I instinctively stood up and backed away. But when I saw who it was, I took a deep breath. He wouldn't truly hurt me, right? He made me uncomfortable but not scared. Still. What in the wood are you doing here? This is a ladies' restroom. He just smiled and said, and this building is mine, sweetheart. 1. Leon Pav. And this building is mine, sweetheart. I smirked slightly. She didn't seem amused, but glared at me furiously enough. That doesn't give you the authority to enter the ladies' room without even knocking. I mean, think about what a girl might be doing before storming in as if this is your bedroom. She looked so cute like this, angry. Frustrated but beautiful. Or maybe I was just getting increasingly into her. I couldn't help but grin. You can't blame me for it. And if possible, she looked even more angry. What the fuck is wrong with you? Calm down. I just wanted to talk to you. My statement surprised her. Talk? She asked, skeptical. When I nodded, she said, about what? About us. I answered. Chapter 8. Ashley's Pav, about us. His words hung in the air for a few moments before I got the meaning about what he said. It was obvious now. He wanted a stupid night of sex with me. It seemed like that was pretty much all he ever thought about. How to ensnare another woman into his bed. Disgusting. I swallowed hard and took a deep breath, and all the while Leon looked at me intensely. What about it? I still asked. Maybe I was wrong. Well, he says, you obviously don't need an explanation. Nobody is that innocent a person after all. He paused for a dramatic effect and actually succeeded at it. He smiled slightly while speaking his next few words. I stay near this hotel, by the way. I will meet you at the lobby of this hotel at about midnight. He said, and as he turned to go, my anger rose to the brim. Did I look like a toy to him? Some sort of a present? Unpack, use and throw. I will not be treated like this. No. I blurted before even my thought completed their train. No? He asked, incredulous. No. I stated firmly. Why? Yeah, why in the world would a girl turn down such an amazing and dignified opportunity? Did he really think he could order a person to his bed and nobody would argue? He was handsome, rich, savvy, but he wasn't nice. And I knew its importance. Because I do not act until I am committed. Leon Pav, I do not act until I am committed. The statement stirred a number of emotions inside me. She used to say this. But how? She was the only one I knew who could say something so dorky and make it sound sincere. On top of it, she was the only other one who ever refused me. No, this was not the time to think about her. Hell, I would never think about her. She was locked away in a corner of my brain. To be never opened. Like Pandora's box. Opening it would result in catastrophe, and I didn't want to be that again. She broke my heart and she did not care. Ashley's Pav. I saw a range of emotions reflected in Leon's eyes. Realization, sadness and hurt. Pain. And recognition? I had no idea what's going on. He just nodded slowly and didn't even look at me. I sighed and said, I have to get back to Grayson. We have to go home. Tiredly, I started walking towards the exit. He made no attempt to stop me. He stood there dazed. It also made me wonder if he had really wanted to spend the night with me, or was this his habit to jump in bed with the next girl? Maybe he would understand and never bother me again. But I wonder what past wounds I had just opened up. Chapter 9. Ashley's Pav. I was utterly hating what I was doing right now. More than that, I hated Leon. I should not be even thinking about him or his offer. But here I was thinking what could have happened if I had agreed. The passion, kisses, pleasure, everything. I had never had casual sex, maybe it was just curiosity. 1. which was kind of wrong because of a number of reasons. I only wanted sex if I utterly and absolutely trusted the other person. I wanted it to be intimate and not just physically. That's it. I will not think about him anymore. I should especially not be doing this right now. I was with Grayson in his car, and he was telling me all about the party, the things I missed, and I was dreaming inside my head. I was just replying with, yeah. Of course. UMHMM. Etc., etc. When we finally stopped in front of my apartment building, I was about to say good night to him, but he held my wrists lightly and looks me squarely in the eye. I was thinking, Ash, if you will, if you could join me for coffee tomorrow morning? I know it's a holiday, but morning coffee is a must for some people. He smiled. I smiled back and said, Are you asking me out? Yes? I couldn't help but chuckle at the childlike innocence on his face. He was so sweet, so kind. Entirely opposite to Leon. Hell, why am I even comparing them both? Okay, Grayson. Grinning, I got out and made my way towards the stairs. I had a date with my bed. It could have been someone else's, my entirely non-functioning brain replied. When I got in, I swapped my clothes for the comfortable night ones. I got into my bed, only to have a message from Emily ping on my phone. Why, dear? You looked hot today. Confused, I reply, What are you talking about? You didn't see me, that's okay. But I saw you snuggling close to Grayson. Huh? She saw me? How? Only one way to know. I asked her. Leon Pav. I just couldn't concentrate anymore. I didn't want to remember her. She made my life hell. It was too much pain to take. But even I wondered, how could have one simple statement made me go like this? I mean, aside from the part that I heard it the first time in 3 years directed at me, it had been spoken a dozen times before. I had overheard it. But never did it remind me of her. Never. I stored all the memories of her in one corner of my brain, and locked up and threw the key. Never had I visited that corner again. Until today. What's more, the way Ashley said it, it was too much like her. Even a part of their appearance matched. Have I found her again? I shook the thought of my mind. That was impossible. Ashley, despite her standoffish attitude, didn't seem to be the type to play with people's hearts. She seemed kind enough, good enough. I had lied to the people at the party that I had a meeting early morning the next day, and I needed to get to bed early. I was just too exhausted and distracted to party any further. My father called and told me that soon after I had departed, everybody went home. Right now, I was sitting on the windowsill looking at my bed, somehow still imagining Ash in my bed. She had this pull towards her. But that also meant one thing. I would not be able to rest until I had her. Chapter 10. Ashley's Pav. I got up at 7 the next morning, set up a breakfast and served it to Aunt Marie. She had gotten much better in the past week. I had fallen into the monotone category, wearing a loose gray sweater and black skinny jeans. It looked good with my knee-length boots and white muffler though. At exactly 8, there were 2 loud knocks on the door. I opened it only to find Grayson watching me, impressed. I called out to Aunt Marie to tell her I was going. Grayson took my hand as we walked to his car, and he bent down shyly and said, "You look really good." I smiled back at him, internally relieved he didn't think I walked out of a 40s movie. He turned his car on and offered me the aux cable. "Music? You're going to let me choose?" He nodded, wearing his seatbelt. I did the same, and just to be cheesy, chose the most romantic playlist on my phone. I waited for him to grumble or complain, but he only chuckled, shaking his head. When we reached the coffee shop, we took a secluded corner. "What would you like?" he asked me. I frowned as I thought hard about what I wanted. "A cappuccino." He waved to the waitress who eyed him thoroughly and looked at him with that gleam in her eyes. "Yes, sir?" She batted her eyelashes furiously, and I looked at her with amusement. She was gorgeous anyways, why was she acting like a sex toy? 2 cappuccinos, Grayson said, smiling at me. He didn't even give her a second glance. If this was a game, I would be shouting, "There, bitch! Take that!" But apparently, she did not know how to read signals. She noticeably pulled on her shirt a little more. I glanced away, getting second-hand embarrassment. When she received no attention, she said, "Anything else?" "No," I answered sweetly. But of course, she had to glare at me. Stiff, she walked away. "Does that often happen with you?" I asked Grayson. "No," he answered. I answered sarcastically. He was gorgeous. With his casual but smart looks and impeccable dressing sense, not to mention his sweet personality. He chuckled and answered, "Okay, yeah. But not that often." I shook my head while smiling. We talked about the party, my family, his family over coffee. I got to know that he came from Miami, which was surprising, and his mother lived there with her second husband. His father was dead. I could totally understand it because even my parents were dead. Both of them. When finally he paid the bill, after defeating me by being quicker to pull money out of his pocket, I turned to go to my home. But he stopped me. "I wanted to ask you something." "Yeah? What do you think about me?" he asks out of the blue, speaking fast, eyes wide. "Grayson, what do you mean?" I smiled slightly. I like to know where something is heading." In surprise, I raised my eyebrow. "It's only been a week since we've even known each other. How can we possibly?" "I know. But it's been a long time since I have had this gut feeling about someone. It's okay if you don't want to tell me. I just wanted to know if we were on the same page." He murmured, uncertain. "Grayson, look, I like you. I really do. But we need to get to know each other. Only then I can tell you." "All right then," he said. "Give me 1 month, and maybe I'll have you making up your mind then." I sighed dramatically. He just knew how to lighten my mood. Seeing him smile, though, I couldn't help but do the same. This time I took his hand, and we walked to his car. It just felt so good to be with him. I knew I would accept. I want to be with him, touch him, feel him, and stand by him. Maybe I'll find someone for me after him, which had seemed impossible until I met Grayson. He was sweet, considerate. The kind of person you could open up to, and he wouldn't judge you. 3 years, I'd never been in a relationship. Before getting into one, especially with someone so kind like Grayson, I needed to gather the courage to reveal my deepest, darkest secret. A relationship is based on trust. I couldn't break someone's trust. 2. Again. Chapter 11. Ashley's POV. 1 week. 3 dates. 0 kisses. 1. This time, I was growing desperate. There was another thing burning at the back of my mind. I hadn't met Mr. I Own It All since the day at party, but I had grown kinda curious why he reacted like that. He was one mysterious man. Anyways, today was the second week of the month that Grayson wanted. He had said that maybe I could come to a conclusion. I already kind of had. I still wanted some time to reveal some things to him. I didn't really want to. But if I wanted this to work, I had to. Tonight, I would tell him that I liked him. Hopefully, he liked me back as much as I liked him, and that would make him do something with me that he hadn't. On our last date, he practically tried to seduce me. We had gone on a swimming pool date. I am not much for bikinis, so I wore a single light blue piece. He wore his shorts. He patted his thigh, and I sat on his lap. Shirt open and all. That guy has fucking 6 packs. He touched me gently, and when I tried to do the same, he just said, "Not yet." And he laughed away. That smoking hot guy deserves a smoking hot bacon on his seriously handsome face. Tonight, he was coming for dinner and a late-night movie. It would end at perhaps 2 a.m. And hopefully, something will happen. I would initiate, if I even knew how to do it without seeming like an utter fool. It had been months since I had sex, but something about Grayson comforted me. When a guy is this sweet to you and puts in effort to make you comfortable, and is interested and wants to be with you, you can't ignore him. Or let him go. And if I was liking him so much that I was ready to sleep with him, then I must really, really, really like him. 1. A knock brought me out of my dreams. I walked over to it as I pulled my hair into a messy bun. There he stood, lavishly handsome in a tee that exposed some of his chiseled chest, and fitted perfectly to show his abs. His jeans hung dangerously low at his waist. I had to resist my humiliating urge to pull it up, if only so that I didn't end up doing something stupid. He was smirking at me, his eyes full of lust. This man knew what he was doing. Tonight will be one hell of a night, won't it?
Leon Pov. I had assigned someone already to know what Ashley was up to. She was hot, of course. Beautiful too, obviously. And there was something about her that kept on attracting me to her. But there was another thing I couldn't quite put my finger on. It felt familiar, yet so distant. My attraction to her was pleasant, yet uncomfortable at the same time. She was the sort of girl who didn't melt at looks. Hard to get. And she reminded me of someone. I was sitting in my room, working at my laptop. A baseball match ran through the television. Frequently, I looked up to see the updates. My phone buzzed. A text appeared from a man I had hired to pull any information on her. Grayson just reached her house. It's late night. I mean, they could be watching movie or something for all I know, but I have my doubts. Reading, I shook with anger. Here I was, a billionaire and a CEO, while there was Grayson, whom she preferred over me. I was having her kind of investigated, which wasn't right, but something about her bothered me. And I had learned to guard my heart beforehand, long before any ugly surprises were thrown my way. I hadn't had sex in 2 weeks waiting for her. But she obviously didn't care. Jaw ticking, I threw my file on the bed. I stared at the text again. I needed something to distract me, anything. Picking up my phone, I texted, but not to Ray, the man who gave me this information. It was a simple, one-line text. Come over to my house within 30.
Chapter 12. Ashley's Pov. So which movie? I asked him as we sat on the couch close together. I was not trying to seduce him or anything. I just want him to know that I am ready. Or maybe I was trying to seduce him. Actually, he said, looking down at me, I brought a DVD with me. I raised my eyebrow and smiled. Which one? He shrugged casually. A Walk to Remember. 4. Almost 2 hours later. Why? I cried uncontrollably, sinking into Grayson's chest. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I absolutely hated this movie. And I loved it. Why is everything so complicated and sad? Why did she? Hush, he whispered soothingly in my ears as I broke down like a mental patient who just lost his sanity. But that did not calm me. Nothing could calm me. Look up at me, he said gently. When I lift my head from his chest and look into his eyes, I realized that we were awfully close. Our lips parted and were merely 2 inches away. His eyes had become several shades darker as he bore into mine. Grayson? I whispered. I didn't know when or how, but I had stopped crying, and now I could feel his warm breath fanning my face. Can I ask you something? He asks as he stroked his thumbs below my eyes, wiping away my tears. I nodded slowly, carefully. Do you like me? He asked. I smiled slightly and closed my eyes in a reassuring way. He let out a sigh of relief. Do you want me? My breath hitched at his question. Did I want him? I mean, yeah, The last 24 hours were of me thinking about us in bed, but now that the moment had come, I was a nincompoop. Yes. Yes, I want him. Not with the intensity I used to want, never mind. But I did want him. Which was more than anything I had felt in months. 2. He was the first person in 3 years to hit my like radar. That had to count for something. And anyways, it's not like these calculations were helping me, my heart did what I would have said anyways. Yes. I whispered. And before I could even think of anything, his lips crashed on mine with a raw intensity. I sat there frozen. I had never thought that suck kisses existed. He grabbed my waist from his right arm and the back of my head from, tugging my hair gently. That snapped me out. I held his neck and pulled him to me. If possible, we came even closer. His whole body touching mine brought out sensations that I had kissed dearly. My thighs pressed against his growing erection. His hand roamed around my body, my chest, stomach, and hips. Finally, he squeezed my thighs, bringing me closer to him. I could feel his erection digging between my legs. And I moaned. He groaned, begging me to insert his tongue inside my mouth. I bit it a little, teasing him. I could feel him smiling against my lips. The feel of his lips were heavenly. Finally, I opened my mouth and his tongue roamed around inside my mouth. My body was buzzing and warmth spread from core. He lifted me off the couch in his arms and took me to my bedroom, pausing and asking for directions. I laughed. This was going to be a great night. Chapter 13.
Leon Pav. She came into my room, wearing a small red dress that showed more cleavage than necessary, and enough makeup to make her look like those stricken vampires on televisions. Or maybe I just didn't like that she was here and was looking for excuses. For the first time, I was hating this. I used to dislike this, but it was the only thing that drove me out of my heartbreak. Sex became my drug. She smiled seductively at me and slowly made her way to me. I didn't know why, but this time, it felt so wrong. So wrong. But I let her come to me. Her breasts touched my chest and she slowly felt around my crotch. I felt disgusted, despite having been through the same procedures so many times. What happened? You are not responding, she asked. I closed my eyes, and that one image of the girl flashed against my eyes. Drenched in rainwater. Standing just few meters away, and yet so distant. Her black short hair were wet until her shoulders. I had not seen her before. That day was supposed to be the first time. And yet she dumped me. Firmly, I took Serena's hands away from me and told her in a hard, cold voice, "Go." What? Get out, Serena. Do I need to repeat myself? When she tried touching me one more time, I said, "Don't touch me, is that understood?" She gave me a look of disbelief, and hot on her heels, ran away from my room, muttering something about how did I refuse something so irresistible. Bothered, I looked out my window. How come suddenly she was dwelling in my mind again? It was like I had seen her again. I just knew Ashley reminded me of her, somehow. Maybe they were friends, relatives, sisters. Ray, my hired employee, told me if anyone fitting her description came. I didn't know what I was hoping for. Ray needed a bonus. He told me some extra information of his own accord. But Ashley and Lindsay, how were they related? Were they at all, or was I grasping at straws? Did I want Ashley simply because I needed closure? Because if I couldn't get her, I wanted a replacement? No. Not possibly. She happened years ago. I was just attracted to her. That is what this was. And even though their appearances were the same, she couldn't possibly be her, could she? Suddenly, my phone rang. After the conversation, I was stunned beyond words. I rushed to my destination. Ashley's Pav. Just as Grayson was about to take off my t-shirt, my phone rang. Why is someone calling at this hour? It's midnight. Taking my phone out and reading Emily's name, I decided to attend the call. I told Grayson to wait for a minute. Not that I wanted to put a halt at this, but Emily must be calling for something really important. "Hello," I answered, slightly out of breath. I could hear sobbing from the other side. "Emily." Ash, can why you please come to the City Hospital. I need why your help." What happened? Why are you crying?" She took one deep breath in an effort to calm herself down and said, "My family has had an accident." 15 minutes later, I was standing in front of the city hospital. Grayson had dropped me after I had explained the situation to him. He looked disappointed though, but knew what the priority was. He was hesitant to come in. Perhaps he didn't want his other employee to know about us. It wasn't against the rules, but it was frowned upon. When I asked him one more time, he just shook his head in a glaze. "Just tell her it will be all right, okay? Tell her to ask me for help." Of course. I ran in and was about to approach the receptionist when I heard a broken, cracked voice calling out my name. "Ashley." Turning around, I registered Emily's appearance. In the most disheveled manner, her hair was sticking out and the makeup was smudged horribly. She looked miserable. There was so much pain in her eyes that it was difficult to look into them. Hugging her, I whispered calm, soothing words into her ear, hoping it had at least some effect on her. We sat on the seats while she kept her head on my shoulder. "What happened, Em?" She looked numb, lifeless. Staring into the distance, she said, "My parents were in a car along with my uncle. I don't know what happened, but they got hit by a truck. My uncle and dad are in coma." Numb. That's what I was. I bring despair everywhere I go. 2. I became friends with Em and this happened. My aunt raised me and she is suffering from a heart disease. My parents died. No. I couldn't let those dark thoughts control me again. I wasn't cursed. Tears started slipping from her eyes, and I didn't even know how she was feeling anything. "Ash, when my uncle's son, my cousin, comes, will you please tell him of the details? I can't face him. He will look at me with hate. I don't think I'll be able to handle that, too. It'd be like everything from the past all over again. I can't see him. Will you please?" Yes, of course. At that moment, I made a decision. I would help her family however I could. It didn't seem like Shaw had anybody, and everyone needs help. I needed it once. And it was hell to be alone. "Just tell me his name, Emily," I said softly. Her next words shocked me to the core. "Leon Clark."
Chapter 14. Leon Pav.
This is so not happening. First Mom and now Dad. No. I couldn't let this happen. I rushed into the hospital door, frantically looking for my cousin, Emily. As much as I wanted to blame her, it wasn't her fault. But it's human nature, and that part of my brain knew that even though it wasn't her fault, I would probably lash out at her. I shut that part down. Guess who was there to improve my mood? Ashley Anderson. Anderson. No. I didn't have time to think about that right now. She got up and walked to me, sympathy clearly visible in her eyes. She bit her lip and said, "Hi." I nodded slightly in response. "Your father is in room 313. Thank God she didn't waste time. I would have been lashing out at her instead. I ran off to meet him, but her next words stopped me dead in the tracks. "He is critical. He's not waking up." No. I think I shook my head slightly, not believing a word she said. If the operation is successful, there is a chance he would survive. I needed to sit. My legs couldn't support my weight. My father can't leave me. He can't. He knows I am not someone who can survive alone. He won't leave me, would he? He has to fight. But that didn't mean that I wasn't scared. I was scared. Very much so. At least I got to know about my mother's death after she passed away. I was helpless, but this was just waiting. I couldn't do anything while he fought. I hated it, being so helpless. I could do nothing. Fuck, I couldn't even stand. Ash must have sensed it, because I faintly remembered two hands sitting me down. Do you want something? She asked so sweetly that for a second, she didn't look like her angry, grumpy self. I almost imagined her in a pearly white dress with twisted braided hairs. She was looking like an angel. Or maybe I was just hallucinating way too much. My mind was just looking for some distraction from the despair. Ashley Anderson was no angel, not if my hunch was right. And yet, I wasn't sure. Without making eye contact, I said, "Water?" She nodded and asked me to wait a couple seconds. Watching her retreating figure glide past the reception, a thought popped into my mind. They haven't asked me for payment. Hospitals always ask for money before committing to any kind of patient, regardless of the condition of the patient. When she returned with a glass in hand, I asked, "Did someone pay already?" Her eyes widened and she gulped down. I was right. But who would pay? Emily wouldn't pay. She couldn't afford to. Maybe she didn't have enough money for even her father. Looking closely at her, I saw that one emotion on her face I never expected to see, uncertainty. About what? It's not like some random guy walked through the doors and paid and went away, leaving them uncertain as to who exactly paid the bills. Or it simply meant that she didn't know if the payment had been done or not. She licked her lips, not in the sexy way, but in a "I did not want to face the question you dick" way. Not that the reason mattered. She looked me in the eyes and gulped again, looking down, making me narrow my eyes at her. I did. I was going to say good joke, but realized she wasn't joking. You? I asked in a very flat voice. 5. Yeah. Ashley's paw. Yeah. I looked down. Of course, he didn't believe me. Mori? I didn't attempt repeating it in a clear voice. I did a good thing, but was it even my place? It was right. "Am sorry?" he asked. Yes. No, what did you say? I couldn't catch it. This was going to be bad. Maybe. Heaving a sigh, I said, "Look, I am sorry if I hurt your male ego or something." Ash. No. Listen. I just did it because M didn't have any money. Doctors weren't willing to perform surgery without one. So I just paid because time was running out. He could have died. We tried using your name, but they thought we were lying. I tried calling you, but you weren't picking up. I really didn't want to anger you. It's not. I told you to let me finish. I stated firmly. Look, please don't be angry, but your father was on his deathbed. And I really didn't think about your reaction, you. And I was stopped by a heart-stopping, gut-warming kiss. The softest, best kiss. It was short, but caused goosebumps to erupt throughout my body. He kissed me. When he pulled back after like 5 to 7 seconds, he smiled sheepishly and said, "You weren't stopping." That was how I shared my first kiss with him. In public, in a hospital, when his father was in a life or death situation. I decided against pushing this further. It felt good, but that did not mean I was cheating on Grayson. I was not. I would not. I just smiled and shook my head. It was nothing. It meant nothing. I didn't stop it. And that made me wonder, had I recovered my shock, would I have responded? Sorry. I muttered lowly. But don't kiss me again, Leon. He smiled weakly and said, "Fine. Not until you ask me to." I looked away. I could see it in his eyes. A silent premise and the determined charisma that said he would make it happen. When I had told Leon about his dad, he had seemed crushed. You could see the remnants of his tough guy act wear away. He looked vulnerable. And I had that urge to protect him. Emotionally, and even physically. I had learned to fight. Aside from that, his pain and hurt changed my behavior towards him almost as a natural response. I had expected a detached, businesslike Leon to show up, who wore his infamous poker face. Instead came in the torn and pained Leon, who had endured sufferings like any human in the past. He was in despair and needed healing. I didn't think any of his relatives would come for that. Maybe Em could, but she was too busy avoiding talking with Leon at all costs. I still had no idea why. And Leon was left alone. All alone. I knew how it feels like when you were alone. Half my life had been like that. I decided to forgive Leon, give him the benefit of my doubt. I didn't know why, but it was gut instinct. Maybe he wasn't as much of an asshole as he pretended to be. After all, he only asked for a night. It may have offended me more than others because of my past personal experience. But I could forgive him. And maybe help him overcome his grief. Maybe become his friend too. I had promised Emily. But that wasn't all. My heart reached out to him. I broke one heart. Maybe I'd have to mend 1,000 others.
Chapter 15. Ashley's POV. The operation was supposed to last for only 3 hours. It had been 4. Maybe I was fretting needlessly, but it was still nothing compared to Leon. As soon as the 3 hours had ended, he had begun pacing back and forth in front of the operation room. Occasional tears escaped his eyes. His posture was slouched. There was no part of him that looked calm at the least. He needed to stop thinking for a little time. He would get insane otherwise. "Leon?" I called out to him, as loud as I can be in a hospital. "Leon?" No answer. "Leon?" I shouted so loud that all heads turned to me. An old man in a wheelchair with his head bent because of neck fracture looked at me like I just twisted his neck. I gave him an apologetic look. "Yeah?" he asked, still distant. "Sit," I said softly. He shook his head. I sighed. I went up and grabbed his arm and dragged him back to sit. He didn't even retaliate. He sat with a distasteful look on his face. I didn't know what to talk about now. Outside the window, the sun had gone and the stars twinkled. I wish I could tell him how I knew he felt. I didn't. My parents died when I was very young. I didn't even remember them properly. "Where's Leon, Mother? Had his parents been divorced or something?" "Where's Mr. Clark's wife?" I asked him. I had been very specific to not use "your mother" in case his father remarried and he didn't like to take her as his mother. That had happened to me twice, and I knew to not make that mistake again. "Mom? Will she be coming?" I asked softly. But after a pause he said, "If you want to go, you can go." No. I quickly responded. I asked only because I thought that she might be more of a support than anyone else, right? I would have stayed even if she came, if you wanted me to. He smiled slightly. "I wouldn't want you to go. But why are you helping me? You kind of hate me, right? Don't say it's because you are so kind. There is always more of a reason. Because as far as I can remember, I think half the time about you. I don't know why. You struck a chord. Maybe I am attracted to you more than I am to Grayson. No. What the hell am I thinking?" Thankfully, I was saved from uttering, because the doctor came in at just that moment. Leon jumped quickly from his seat. I stood up more slowly. "Doctor? Is everything fine?" "Yes, thankfully, because the payment was done on time and we were able to start the operation. Had we delayed even a little more, Mr. Clark, your father's situation would have become very unstable. All thanks to this young lady." I smiled uncomfortably. "No, doctor. I just did my job. I wasn't the one holding a knife in the operation theater." He smiled sympathetically. Maybe doctors were just used to smiling like that. Leon thanked the doctor. "When can I see him?" He would be regaining consciousness in 5 to 6 hours. "And what about Emily's father, doctor?" Leon asked. Quietly. Surprised, I looked at him. He hadn't said anything about Emily even once. "He is okay too. Listen, Mr. Clark. I know it's not my place to interfere with your personal matters, but I'd like to tell you, when Ms. Anderson here was paying, Emily silently came to me and told me to use the money all on your father. She said that she is ready to sacrifice her father if that meant that you will not be alone. Thankfully, it did not come to that. I will only say that maybe you should talk to her. That girl did not look very well. He was looking dazed, amazed, and guilty at the same time. But his jaw clenched at the suggestion which the doctor gave. I agreed with the doctor. Emily loved him more than even any sibling would. She didn't deserve this hatred. I looked at Leon and willed him to look at me. I didn't need to, he was already looking at me, searching my face for suggestion, advice. I gave him a small nod and smiled. He blinked twice and finally he said quietly, "Fine, I will talk to Emily." Chapter 16.
Leon Pov. I would have been alone had it not been for Ashley. She has been surprisingly kind to me, which just made me realize how horrible I was to her when we first met. I would not be able to repair the damage I did on our first few meetings, but I could apologize. And this darned attraction might just go away. My father would be all right. I was so glad. The only thing now bothering me, however, was Emily. My stupid cousin. We had always been so close. I never had a sibling. Emily had been the only real cousin in my mind when we were little. The rest of my cousins, I didn't even care. I talked to Em, shared with Em. I was stupidly open as a teenage boy. She gave me advices, I gave her solutions. The only people I loved more than her were my parents. All that changed 6 years ago. My mom had a heart disease that made the possibility of a heart attack 10 times more than it would be for an average normal person. My mom had not eaten that day, not feeling well. My school had been hosting some sort of event. I don't even remember. Me and father had to go. Emily had stayed behind to take care of my mother. I went. After all, what bad could happen in an hour, right? Wrong. A lot of wrong happened that day. And I regret my decision of ever leaving. Em and Mum were talking when my mum had this sensation at the back of her throat. Emily thought that she might need water and left to bring some. When she returned, my mum was on the floor gasping and clutching her chest. Emily stood at the doorway, paralyzed with fear. The glass dropped of her hand. My mum went suddenly still. She was trying to say something, Emily had said. She couldn't understand what it was. Emily realized too late, very late, what had happened. When I came home along with my father, paramedics were rushing in and out of our house. In the corner of a room, Emily sat. Tears stroked her face, her eyes stared out into nothing. I shouted and screamed for somebody to tell me what had happened. And finally, when somebody did, grief and anger overcame me. I never thought that I would ever be that sad. Never. I didn't believe them. Who would? I laughed at their faces and told them to shut it off. I ran around the house looking for my mom. I wish I hadn't. At least my last memory of her would have been a happy one. There lay her lifeless and pale body on a stretcher, her eyes closed, and she wouldn't wake up even when I repeatedly asked her to. And so I just sat next to her, hoping this was nightmare that would go away. Next, everything was a blur. The only thing I remembered was lashing out at Emily, screaming and calling her names. For 1 month, I couldn't eat or sleep. I heard that Emily was having trouble getting on with her life. I didn't care at that time. I blamed her for not acting fast enough, not being able to save my mother. I blamed her.
Chapter 17. Ashley's Pov. I wasn't sure why I was looking at him. I wasn't sure why I was sitting right next to him. Heck, I wasn't sure why I was with him in the first place. It didn't even make any sense. But it also did. He had seemed so depressed and different that I wanted to know what was happening to him. I wanted to help him. It may not have been a big deal for many people when they were asked to for a one-night stand, but to me it was. I didn't want anybody to look at me that way. I got pissed easily whenever that happened. I sighed, looking outwards as Leon sat beside me, his eyes closed. I looked outside the window as the sun rose when something caught my eye. I got up, trying to get a better look. "Everything okay?" Leon asked, and I turned. His eyes had turned red with fatigue, and he looked like he needed a good night's sleep. "Yeah? I turned again, knowing whose car it was. "I can't believe Grayson stayed here overnight." "Grayson dropped you?" he asked groggily. I nodded. "I need to go talk to him." He said nothing, just stared at me. Then nodded, very slightly. As I came outside the building, I saw Emily sitting outside the same way Leon had been inside, eyes closed, head against the wall. I wasn't sure if she was sleeping or just letting her eyes rest, so I decided I would talk to her later. I reached Grayson's car from the left side. He didn't see me coming. He was staring intently where Emily was sitting. I knocked twice and he started, turning to look at me. "Hi." He smiled, unlocking the door. As I sat inside, he glanced one more time where Emily was sitting but then turned his attention to me. "I can't believe you stayed here." "For me?" I wanted to say it, but something told me that I was not the entire reason he sat here all night. I wasn't jealous, just very curious. "Why, yeah. How are things inside? Did any of you rest?" "No." I stifled a huge yawn. "We have all been closing our eyes a few times." "You?" He looked again at Emily. "You're not with Emily?" "She told me to look after her cousin first." "Leon? His father was in the accident too?" I nodded. "Wow. I hope they are both okay." "Yeah. Luckily, they are both fine. Emily's father would be released sooner than Leon." He nodded. He was gazing at Emily again. Then he suddenly shifted his focus to me. "Hey, I know this is a wrong time to talk about it. But our date last night needs a redo?" "Yeah." He laughed groggily. "How does dinner tomorrow night sound?" "I wasn't staying here at nights." "That sounded good." "So good." "Yes, please." We smiled, but it soon faded away because of our fatigue. "Could you tell Emily that I want to talk to her? I could increase her salary if she wanted. You know, for her father. I can do that at the very least." I nodded, although I wondered why couldn't he just call her herself. But then I remembered something. "I will tell her." "But Leon paid for her father." His eyebrows shot upwards. "He did." He looked genuinely relieved, but was that also disappointment I saw? I nodded my head, fatigued. I stifled another yawn. "Go home and rest, all right? See you tomorrow." As I got out of the car, Emily caught my eye and smiled. But then, she quickly disappeared inside the hospital. I texted her about Grayson's offer. But she only said one thing. "Thank you, but I am okay." Chapter 18. Leon Pav, my father was all right for now. But that didn't mean the mess in my head was too. I hadn't really gotten a chance to talk to him, and I was scared, legitimately scared of how she would react. How it would look to her if I suddenly appeared in front, asking for forgiveness. How it would appear after years of pretending that I didn't care about her. How would it feel to me? How would it feel to have a part of my past back? A good part. I sighed. Nothing had been going straight the past few days. It had been 2 days since I had been at hospital with my father. I had booked a room at a nearby hotel for my stay, because I obviously wasn't going to leave my father like that. And it seemed that Ashley wasn't going to leave me. There was something about her last name, Anderson, which bothered me, but I didn't dwell on it more than I had to. I couldn't tear away wound after wound just to find nothing beneath. But the less I wanted to think about Ashley, the more she consumed me. My thoughts surprised me. because I hadn't really thought like this about a girl before. Something more than sex-related stuff. Just about her and me. Of course, that didn't stop me from looking at those lips and wanting to kiss them or looking at her body. But I didn't want to destroy what little we had. Whatever she was, I was kind of interested to know what had been her past. But I hadn't been giving her last name more thought than required. I would not deny that her presence made things easy for me. I had forgotten comfort long ago when I gave a part of me. When I changed myself so completely that sometimes I didn't recognize my own face in the mirror. But now I think about it, I didn't make myself strong. All I did was to move away and away from myself. I ran away like a coward. Of course, someday I would face it again. Someday my past would haunt me again. But this time, I was going to face it. Sir, it is mandate that you attend this meeting. Our company is already going through a crisis, what with your father, but we need you, my secretary said. Look, I understand. But you understand this first, I am not leaving my father. Get it? But my secretary, I had given her less credit than I should have. Sir, the word seemed forced out of her mouth. Our product will not reach the market on time. The board will take drastic measures. I looked at my father, he was sleeping, having been woken up just this morning. Going out of the room, I tried to rein my anger. There was only one person in this world whom I loved openly, and it was my father. One of the few to really love me back. I don't give a fuck. You are on this job for a reason. Figure this out. I said angrily, shutting the phone and leaning on the door with my eyes closed. When I opened them, I saw Ashley in front of me. I really didn't want to talk to her. She'd ask me about Emily, and I would have no answer once again. But she just stood there with something steaming from a kind of thermos, with a surprised look on her face. Come in. I grunted and went inside, not waiting for her. Was the call work-related? She asked as she poured out some soup for all three of us. I glared at her, but she didn't flinch, so I took a loud breath and nodded. Why were you so angry? I mean, not that you aren't always angry anyways, but that was pretty hardcore. She won't let it go. They want me to attend a meeting tomorrow morning. She looked surprised. So why don't you? My nostrils flared. Fuck, Ashley. Have you looked at my father? She narrowed her eyes at me, not in a challenging way, but in an almost concerned manner. Almost. I know you are worried about your father, but your father wouldn't want you murdering your career like that. Plus, there is the hospital staff to take care of him. She said. I know, Ashley. But I want someone who I personally know to personally take care of my father and I. I could if you want, that is. She said the words in a hurry, as if almost scared to get them out. It took a few seconds to sink in. You would? I asked slowly. But don't you have your own work? I do, but tomorrow is a Saturday. A half shift. I will take the day off. It's not anything uncommon. Plus, you look in dire need of rest. So just stay at home and sleep on Sunday. I will be with your father until then. I stared at her. Are you sure? She returned her attention to the soup. Yeah. Absolutely. I took the soup from her hands. Thank you. And in a long time, I really meant it. Chapter 19. Leon Pav. I was really tired by the time the meeting finished. I went to my hotel for a quick shower and a 30-minute power nap because infrequent sleeping had really taken a toll on me. I had ordered some dinner for myself and Ashley, as I wanted to treat her for helping me. I was heading to the hospital to find Emily standing outside the hospital, perhaps waiting for a ride. As she saw my car approaching, her expression froze. She gulped once and headed inside the hospital. I frequently visited my uncle nowadays, and spotted Emily several times a day, but never got around to talking to her. I always forgot what I had to say, and couldn't open my mouth. Just like I couldn't do it now. But that doesn't mean I had forgotten my responsibility as well. I had paid for Emily's father, and she told Ashley to say thank you to me, and some shit about how she was going to return it as soon as possible. Nearing my father's room, I heard laughter. I had food in my one hand and my cell phone in the other, so I had to kick the door to open it, causing Ashley to jump back in surprise. I got food, I announced as soon as I entered. She looked at me guiltily. Okay, I gotta go, Leon. I will come back later tonight. You rest, okay? She said to my father as she got up. I was hoping that you would have dinner with us. I asked, my jaw tightening a bit, even I could feel it. I tried to seem more casual. I am sorry, Leon, but I had a date with Grayson. He called me and asked if I would like to go on a dinner with him, and I said, yes. Awesome. Go then, he must be waiting. My father said, a twinkle in his eyes. Ashley's pav. He didn't even turn to look at me. He just went to the bedside table and started pouring out water. There was a muscle jumping at his jaw. Bye, Mr. Clark. I'll see you later, Leon. He nodded, still not looking at me. I frowned as my heart ached. Why should I care? What did it matter? I met Grayson just outside the hospital where he was waiting at his car, looking somewhere with a frown on his face. I followed his gaze and saw Emily arguing with a guy. She stopped abruptly and went inside. Grayson looked a bit ashamed, and he watched Emily till the time she couldn't be seen anymore. And then he saw me. A smile brightened his face, but it looked a bit forced. I smiled too, but I knew it seemed a little fake. It's not that I wasn't happy to see Grayson there. But seeing him made me remember how my heart beat fast and ached for someone else as well. Hey. You okay? He got off the car bumper where he was leaning and kissed me. Yeah. But what about you? You seem a little stressed, I said as we got into the car. And what was up with Emily anyway? His expression froze on his face. He shook his head. I had called her out to tell her that I could increase her salary if she wanted. She said you told her she was grateful and she is going to work something out on her own. He looked on the road but still seemed distracted. Leon doesn't really want the money back. He was just trying to help. He is very nice. I shut my mouth. He nodded thoughtfully. I looked at him, surprised to see no signs of jealousy on his face. I thought guys generally got jealous when a girl started applauding another guy in front of him. Maybe Grayson wasn't that type of a guy. Here we are, he said, swerving the car into the parking lot. The restaurant was beautiful, but not too expensive. It had a kind of a homey feeling. Like somewhere you'd bring someone really close to you to. It made me feel all the more guilty. As we sat on a table and ordered some steak, from which we would both eat, and 2 wines, Grayson said, Ashley? Yes? He seemed to hesitate. You don't want anything else, right? No. I shook my head. And then suddenly I blurted, I want an honest answer. He seemed a little surprised, and gave a little laugh. On what? Love. There was no getting back from here. Okay. Ask. Have you ever been in love before? He looked a little scared, as if I uncovered one of his secrets. Yes. I wasn't very surprised. And he was surprised to see me not surprised. Then I stupidly blurted, oh. Yeah. Who was she? I shouldn't have asked, but curiosity took the better of me, even though I had a very good idea who it was. I'd rather not answer Ashley. He looked really uncomfortable. I didn't push him. But then he asked, you? I sighed. Yes. He nodded. I took a deep breath. Grayson. I don't want to spoil this date, but I don't want to keep it from you too. Oh. All right. He seemed surprised yet again by my sudden outburst. Honestly, even I was surprised. What was happening to me? It's been 2 years, but I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. No, I need more time. Grayson's every feature was etched in concern. Are you okay, Ash? Yes. No? I just need more time, please. Of course. As much as you want. Just one more thing, Grayson. He looked at me. I would never ever intentionally hurt you. If I do, it was the only right thing I could hope to do. Please remember that? He was confused now. Okay. All right. I know, Ashley. I will not hurt you too, never intentionally. He seemed to be getting my point. But I wasn't sure I got mine. Ashley's paw. I had absolutely no idea why I agreed to help Leon. Yes, it was a good deed. Yes, it was kindness. But the thing was that I had a date with Grayson that day. He knew I was helping Emily and Leon, even when I had my own aunt to look after. But it would seem pretty bad to call off the date we had been planning. I was supposed to go with him as soon as my half shift got over. But it seems that sadly can't happen. He would understand, I am sure he would. But would he understand that I have more than friendly feelings towards Leon? I wasn't in love with him. Of course, I wasn't in love with Leon. But there was a spark and attraction I couldn't deny. I tried to suppress it so many times, but to no avail. And whenever I caught myself staring at him or thinking romantically about him, I started feeling guilty. First, because I had promised to give Grayson a chance. Second, because I knew he was a player. And I wanted to be in love, not lust. Chapter 20. Ashley's paw. I reached the hospital late at night. Around 11:30. Leon was working on his laptop. He didn't acknowledge my presence when I got in. His dad was asleep. Hey, I said softly as I came into the room. He looked up and forced a smile. You can head home, I told him as I took off my shoes. No, it's okay, I'll stay tonight. I sighed. Oh please. Come on. I promise I'll stay. He started shaking his head, but I took his chin in my hand and made him look in my eyes. Yes. Go home. You need rest, Leon. He looked in my eyes and grabbed my hand but didn't remove it. He just gently caressed it. Why do you care? I got the meaning of his question. It was not about him going home to sleep. It was about me being around him and helping, even after all that had happened. Maybe because I am falling in love with the wrong person. But I didn't say it. I don't know. I just want to. His hand stopped and his gaze turned a little hard. So you pity me? I laughed a little and whispered, how can I pity you? I appreciate this, Leon. I like the way you talk. I like it about you. I don't even know when I started caring about you, Leon. But I do. And without any warning, he crashed his lips onto mine, and I was shocked for a few seconds. I didn't want to kiss him back, but I did. I didn't want to grab his collar, but I did. I didn't want to feel the thrill, but I did. After what felt like a lifetime, I backed out because I needed to breathe. I looked up at him. His face was flushed and his eyes shone. But there was regret written all over his face. I am sorry. I shouldn't have. I just couldn't control myself. You were close and you are with Grayson. I am sorry. And before I could even understand what he was saying, he grabbed his car keys and laptop, and mumbled a good night to his dad and left. While his dad murmured in his sleep, "Good night, Jay." As if I needed anything more to shock me. I remembered the day like a haze, not really clearly. I had been heading back to my home after the restaurant I worked at closed for the day. The street was dark and misty. I wasn't really paying attention to anything as I walked home, because I was thinking about how I was finally going to meet my, it may seem weird, lover face to face after years of chatting. We hadn't even video conferenced. I had never wanted to. I wanted our first movements to be real and pure. I was a very melodramatic person, wanting to turn everything into poetry. His username was Jay Clarkson, his name was Jay. Mine was Lindsay123 because I loved that name. It even sounded similar to my last name. That night I was just going through our chats, Jay's and mine. I wouldn't have known a tank blew off right next to me, I had been so engrossed. Suddenly, there was this hand on my mouth, 2 hands gripping my legs and 2 gripping my torso. The rough calluses and the way they carried me told me that all 3 were men. One of them gripped my phone and threw it away onto the other side of the pavement where it did not break. I was carried to a dead lane near the small apartments, where usually no one goes. I thought if this is the destination, then I may be able to scream and get help. But they carried me even further near the bushes and the shed, where there weren't even ghosts to help me out. They threw me to the ground, laughed, and they did things to me. I screamed and shouted, hit one man in the eye, for which I got hit. I jerked and cried. I pleaded. I cursed. But they didn't stop. I didn't know what was happening to me. I just knew that my soul was being broken into 1,000 pieces. I wasn't the one to really be blamed, except the fact that I wasn't paying attention, I later realized. It wasn't okay. It wasn't normal. But it wasn't my fault. But the whole time, every second of it, I kept thinking that I do not deserve anyone anymore. That it was my fault, what would people say? I didn't deserve anything. I was just a broken girl. It was wrong to think like that. But then at that time, nothing was right. When they were done, which I didn't remember because I had become unconscious, I was left like that. There only, just like that, behind the shed like a tool. Near dawn time I woke up and collected whatever clothes I could while I was naked and cold. I wore my coat, walked over the lane and picked up my fallen phone. I did it all in numbness. I couldn't feel anything. I walked back near the shed to keep myself hidden. To ensure that no one saw me. And I didn't see anyone. I called my best friend. She picked up the 3rd time. I didn't tell her what happened, just told her to come quickly to where I was, that I was not okay, surprised to hear how dead my voice sounded. I didn't tell my friend, but she perhaps guessed. She arrived with the whole ambulance. People kept asking me questions, but I didn't answer them. Finally, the medical report confirmed what had happened to me. Gang rape. 2 days later, I had to meet Jay. It was raining. I had to leave the hospital that day because I was insisting. I promised coming for regular checkups for a week, but I really couldn't bring myself to stay in the hospital anymore. But straight from the hospital, I walked to the little cafeteria where Jay was waiting for me. He had been easy to spot with how he had described that he had brown hair, and he was tall. Plus, he was sitting on a couple's table all alone, waiting for someone, waiting for me. My heartbeat hastened its pace on seeing him. I wanted to hug him, kiss him, cuddle with him. But I couldn't bring myself to. I didn't have the power to do anything, so I just sent him a note through a waiter and a cup of coffee. I hated doing it. I cried doing it. But I honestly felt like Jay deserved someone whole and good and just not me. Someone better. Someone who could give him everything. I loved him so much. I couldn't see how he would be happy with me. He really couldn't have been with what I was like at that time. He would have undoubtedly helped. Made me better. I know that if I had him by my side, then I would have recovered thrice as quick. I wouldn't have felt so alone. There were things I didn't tell anyone, not even my best friend. But I told everything to Jay. But that is what I realize now. At that time I kept repeating one thing, Jay deserves someone better. It became my mantra. I still remember how I cried while writing the note. I couldn't even write properly. It was a small piece of paper with a small short note, "Sorry Jay, I played you. Thanks for coming, by the way. Let's never meet again." I couldn't think of anything better to write. I couldn't think straight. That was 2 years ago. To be continued. Next book, Ruin the Billionaire. Ashley. I promised myself I was done with him. Done with his heat, his jealousy, his impossible need to own every piece of me. But when the past hunts us and the truth I buried rises with claws, there's only one man I can't outrun. Leon Clark. My ruin, my safest place and my greatest danger. I should stay away. For my heart. For my sanity. For everything I'm trying to rebuild. But when he touches me, I remember. When he whispers my name, I break. And when he says I'm his, God help me, I believe him.
Leon. Losing her once destroyed me. Losing her again. I'll burn the world first. Ashley thinks she can slip away, carry all her pain alone, push me out for my own good. She doesn't understand. I was born for war, for money, for power, but loving her is the only thing I never learned how to quit. Her secrets cut deeper than any enemy I've ever faced. Her fear tastes like the night she disappeared from my life. But she's wrong if she thinks I'll let history repeat itself. This time, I'm not the boy she left behind. I'm the man who will tear down every wall she hides behind. And if loving her ruins me, then ruin is exactly what I choose. This is the second book in the Billionaire Obsession Duet. Reading order: Tempt the Billionaire, Ruin the Billionaire. Available now.